A once hopeful Democrat presidential candidate says his party needs to anoint a new leader before 2028. According to Newsmax, former 2020 Democratic presidential candidate Andrew Yang believes his party is struggling because it lacks a clear leader. Yang went on to urge the party to choose one as soon as possible rather than waiting for the traditional election cycle. The founder of the Forward Party stated that the Democrats are not helping themselves by waiting, arguing they need to anoint a leader who can then speak for the party. Yang pointed to economic anxiety as a key issue the Democrats could leverage. Yang also indicated he is not finished with electoral politics. Right now, let's welcome Media Research Center TV Director Eric Scheiner. Eric, what may be even more surprising to that story we just heard is that Andrew Yang has been telling Democrats they need a leader for most of the year.
The question is, who speaks for the Democratic Party? And the answer right now is no one knows, because there's not a clear leader. What you want to do is you want to find a real human being leader who actually cares about issues faced by young men and any other group, and then can make that case to the American people.
So, Eric, is this the advice of a disgruntled former Democrat or someone who can see that parties need from a distance?
Well, probably a little bit of both. I mean, Yang's been calling for an early primary so the Democrats can choose a leader, most likely so the media can get behind whoever that is and promote them. But if we learned anything from the last election, the Democrats can hold a presidential primary, they can find a leader, and then if that leader doesn't perform very well, they can replace that horse in the mid-race like they did with Kamala Harris. So clearly, the party is so divided and lost right now. They're trying to find a central character that can galvanize them. I don't know if that exists in the Democratic Party right now, because really nobody's been stepping up and taking that lead. It really seems to be the left or the far left, and there's a division there.
Yeah, good point. Now, Oregon Senator Jeff Merkley says the violence in Portland is actually being staged by law enforcement.
And then they start throwing down pepper balls and tear gas to film it, to try to create the impression of chaos where there wasn't chaos. It's Trump creating the chaos because he wants violence and chaos to justify more authoritarian power.
Eric, what's your response to the senator's belief that Antifa attacks in Portland are actually staged?
It's I think the senator should spend less time on social media reading conspiracies and actually read the news. Of course, the leftists always want to blame Trump for everything. That seems to be the case here. You mentioned earlier in the newscast about Trump's roundtable today on what's happening in Portland. And the fact is, just a few hours ago, the White House released a document showcasing examples of Antifa violence that's been documented in the area, and also discussions and interviews with actual Portland residents who say, this is way out of hand. Something needs to be done here. So maybe Merkley should listen to some of his own constituents in this case.
Yeah, I would say that's a good idea. Now, the current frontrunner for California governor, Representative Katie Porter, had a meltdown yesterday when asked what she'd say to GOP voters if she needs them. Watch this.
We've also asked the other candidates, do you think you need any of those 40% of California voters to win? And you're saying, no, you don't.
No, I'm saying I'm going to try to win every vote I can. And what I'm saying to you is that,
well, to those voters. OK, so you.
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it. Okay. Thank you.
Eric, what will walking off the interview do for her campaign? And are Democrats just used to being coddled by the media?
I think you're right with the latter part of that. I think the Democrats are not used to follow-up questions. In fact, Porter even said, I don't want to have an unhappy experience later in that interview before wrapping it up. They're used to their interactions with the media always being a happy experience. The media doesn't follow up with them. It doesn't force them to answer tough questions. So when it does happen on occasion, oh my goodness, this is the kind of meltdown that you get.
Good point. Eric, MRC Newsbusters published an article today that legacy newscasts have remained silent on Jack Smith wiretapping of Congress. It's a blockbuster story. How can that be?
Well, it can be because it simply is. The news broke late enough in the evening that it made the evening newscast on many of the cable news stations, but ABC, NBC, CBS gave it no coverage. But this is really no surprise, because when they were interested in what Jack Smith was doing when he was going after Trump, they couldn't even mention that he was put in charge by a Democratic, by Merrick Garland, put in charge by a Democrat. They couldn't mention the party affiliation.
Right. Well, MRC-TV has a great article on how CBS is blaming ICE for the attempts to kill their agents. Be sure to read it and much more at MRCTV.org and on X at MRCTV. Eric, always great to have you on with us.
Thanks for having me.
You bet.